Let's talk about a huge step forward in the world of artificial intelligence. Singapore has just rolled out a world-first framework for governing a super powerful new kind of AI. It's basically a blueprint for how we can build a future where we can actually trust these incredibly advanced digital tools.
But first, just imagine this for a second. What if the AI you use every day could do more than just answer questions or draft an email? What if it could actually do things for you? Pay your bills, update a client database, or even manage an entire project from start to finish. That's the gigantic leap we're talking about today.
So, this new evolution has a name, agentic AI. And honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is to think of it like a digital chief of staff. This is an AI that doesn't just talk, it does. It can reason through a problem, create a plan, and then actually execute that plan all on its own to hit a goal you've given it.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to see how these AI agents are already here. Then we'll get into the new risks that pop up when they can act on their own. After that, we'll dive into Singapore's big picture safety plan, and then the really practical hands-on safety check for developers. We'll cover the 5 biggest risks they need to test for, and wrap up by looking at what it really takes to build a future we can trust.
All right, let's jump right in with part 1. AI agents are here. This is a really fundamental shift we're seeing. We're moving from AI that just talks to AI that actually acts.
So, what can this stuff actually do in the real world? Well, companies can use these agents to automate all the boring stuff, right? From handling complicated customer service tickets to automatically updating databases or even making payments. The huge promise here is a massive boost in productivity, freeing up actual people to focus on the more creative, high-impact work.
But as you can probably guess, with all this new power comes a whole new set of problems. And that brings us to our second section, the risks of autonomy.
When an AI can actually take action, the stakes get so much higher. What if it does something it wasn't supposed to, or just makes a mistake, like paying the wrong invoice? And because these agents need access to sensitive data, there's always the risk of misuse. It really raises the question of how we keep humans in the loop and accountable. There's even this psychological risk called automation bias. That's when we start trusting the system a little too much and stop paying attention.
And this is exactly why we need some rules of the road. Look, it's not just me saying it. As April Chin, the co-CEO of Resaro, puts it, this new framework from Singapore fills a critical gap in policy guidance. It's really the first serious attempt to build the guardrails for this next wave of AI.
So, what is this solution exactly? That brings us to Section 3, Singapore's AI Safety Blueprint. This is the what behind their whole strategy.
Here's the big news. On January 22, 2026, Singapore's Infocomm Media Development Authority, or IMDA for short, launched the Model AI Governance Framework for Agentic AI. And this wasn't some quiet release. They announced it at the World Economic Forum, which tells you this is a big deal on a global scale.
Now, what's really cool is how this framework breaks everything down into 4 clear, common-sense parts. First, you assess and limit the risks right from the start. Don't give the AI more power than it absolutely needs. Second, you keep humans accountable with clear checkpoints for approval. Third, you put in technical controls, like testing and access limits. And finally, you empower the person using it with transparency and training. It's the whole shebang.
So having these principles is fantastic. It really is. But it brings up the million-dollar question. How do you actually prove an AI is safe before you let it out into the world? High-level ideas are great, but you need practical tools to make them happen.
And that's where the how comes in. Think of this next part as the official pre-flight safety check for your AI. This is the playbook that makes the whole framework real and actionable.
So along with the big framework, Singapore also released this, a starter kit for testing. If the framework is the blueprint, then this starter kit is the toolbox. It's a set of best practices for testing these new AI apps for safety and reliability before they ever go live.
And the process inside is beautifully simple. It's just 3 steps. First, you identify the specific risks for your app and decide what safe actually looks like. Second, you test it with a bunch of structured tests. And third, you assess the results to see if you hit your safety goals. Identify, test, assess. It's clear, simple, and you can do it over and over.
Now, when we say test, what does that really mean? Well, there are 2 main methods. On one hand, you have benchmarking. Think of this like a standardized exam. You're testing the AI against a list of problems you already know about. It's great for the known knowns. On the other hand, you have red teaming. This is more like a stress test, where you get experts to actively try and find the system's blind spots and break it. You really need both to do a good job.
Okay, so what exactly are they testing for? This brings us to Section 5. We're going to do a quick fire round of the 5 key risks this whole starter kit helps developers tackle.
At the heart of it all, it really boils down to these 5 big concerns. These are the things that developers absolutely have to get right if they want to build trust with all of us.
First up is the one you've probably heard of, hallucination and inaccuracy. This is when the AI just makes stuff up or states things as fact when they're totally wrong. And if your AI is paying bills or updating a database, well, you can see why getting the facts right is non-negotiable.
Second is a huge one, bias in decision-making. This is the risk that an AI agent might accidentally create unfair outcomes, like, say, favoring certain job applicants over others, or denying services to a specific group of people. Third, we have undesirable content. This one's pretty simple. It's just about making sure the agent doesn't start spitting out harmful, toxic, or illegal stuff. It's a fundamental safety rail.
Number 4 is data leakage. This is so important for trust. An AI agent might have access to a ton of private information. You have to be absolutely sure that it knows what's confidential and doesn't accidentally share it. And finally, number 5 is vulnerability to adversarial prompts. This is basically what people call jailbreaking the AI. It's when users try to trick the system with clever prompts to get it to ignore its own safety rules and do something it's not supposed to.
So, here's where we land. Singapore has put a really thoughtful blueprint and a practical toolkit on the table. For the first time, we have a clear path for building AI agents that aren't just powerful, but also responsible and safe. The real question now is for all of us. Are we ready to build it?